Welcome to Alabama Gristmill. Welcome back, all the listeners. Good to have you join us. I am Mike with my co-host Donna Causey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. My voice just about gave out just then, but I guess I'm doing wonderful.
Yeah, you sound wonderful, and we've got a good story today that ties in with the baseball season that is started up in the spring season, and it's about the UAB baseball park.
Right. This is one of those stories again that kind of, is what was there before. You think about that. You go to different places and it's a whole new modern version of something, but that piece of land in Birmingham was there for a long, long time. It's nice to know sometimes what was really there.
And you're going to kind of cover what kind of went on and what was it before it was the UAB baseball field. So you can enjoy a lot of things now, but like you said, there's a lot of history under that ground.
Yeah, like I said before, it's the Jerry D. Young Memorial Field, which is now the UAB Blazers Baseball Team home field.
And before we get into that, I always jump in since we will have commercials on the podcast. Would you like to mention other things that we have going on? And one of those things is, we like to bring up that you can find all these stories and others in our series of books that you wrote.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to mention the special thing we have going with that too. If you become a patron, which is a big support of our program here, if you become a patron before June 5th, you will have your name in my next book, a combined book of the last 4 books in my Alabama Footprint series. And it will be coming out this summer. And so if you want to get your name in that as a part of a supporter of Alabama Pioneers, be sure and join the patron program before June 5th.
Yeah, because what we're going to do is every the patron we have at that point, we're going to list them in the book as supporters of the book and the different things we have going on. So those are the Alabama Footprint series book.
Yeah, but the Alabama Pioneers website and everything we have, we're trying to preserve Alabama's history and tell these little, stories that we never hear about.
Yes, and if you want to go ahead and get the books now, you can go find those on Amazon.com or any other online outlets. And they're in some bookstores, and if they're not there, you can always request it. I'll be happy to order them up.
Exactly.
So, check those out, and if you'd like to, join and become a patron, we listen to all patrons that support us to have your name in a book as well. So as a supporter of Alabama history.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and get into that story. Get in the story now. Tell us a little bit about the history behind the location where Jerry D. Young Memorial Field, which is the current UAB baseball park, and go ahead and kind of get into all that.
The actual spot was once the location of Behrens Park. Behrens Park, Behrens. It was renamed Jordan Park in 1924. The park was actually located at 840 12th Street South at University Boulevard, and it was a leading recreation area for the whole city of Birmingham, believe it or not. So that area has been involved in Birmingham's history for a long, long time for recreation. I found this story from an article in the Birmingham News H. Herald from February 2nd, 1949, by news staff writer Danny Dannenberg, and it kind of attracted my attention. I started doing a little bit more research. It showed a wonderful picture of the 73rd anniversary that they were having. Then it recalled the dances held at the park, and C.T. Rambo, who was 84 in 1949, stated that he even met his future wife, Ella Hauser, at one of the dances. So it was real interesting. It had a picture of him and everything. You can find it on the website if you want to go there. But the actual history dates back to 1876 when Henry Behrens, sounds like I'm saying Behrens, Behrens is the way it's spelled. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. I'm sorry if I messed it up. He bought a 20-acre farm from Elanton Land Company for $50 an acre. And he reserved 5 acres for a park. And that was really nice of him back then. He wasn't trying to make a lot of money on every little inch of the land he bought. He sold off the rest of the lots to people who came to work in the rolling mills, but he did reserve that 5 acres for a park, which was part of Birmingham's history for a long, long period of time, and still is today. The residents of the area They were a lot of different nationalities. They were German, Irish, Danish, English, Italian, Syrian, and all were new immigrants to America. Had come specifically to work at the rolling mills that were being established at that time. They all made their stop at the Metropolitan Hotel, which is no longer there, but it was located on 20th Street North next to Union Station. And so it was on the corner of Morris Avenue in downtown Birmingham, where the manager sent them to Henry Behrens, who sold them a lot to build a house on. So it's kind of a wonderful situation. They didn't have to just wander around. They were immediately directed to a way to find their future residence. The hotel was built in 1886, and in 1992 it was purchased by Emil Lesser, who operated it until 1904. In 1889, it was advertised as the oldest hotel in the city, and it offered a first-class restaurant. It was open all day and night and had well-furnished, comfortable rooms from 50 cents and up. But sadly, the hotel was destroyed by a fire from an exploding gas boiler in the hotel's basement on February 23, 1900. So the original hotel was destroyed, but it was rebuilt and used for a number of years afterwards. A pavilion was built in the park in the early 1880s, and they used to have band concerts and dances and all kinds of things, activities going on in the area. It was the place for everybody to get together and just get out and enjoy the wonderful Birmingham community. Benches, picnic tables, flower beds were added, and there was even a bowling alley in the park, believe it or not. The first immigrants to come into the area were the Germans, and they were the majority of the first residents. They formed a club and held a lot of parties. Then along came the Greek residents, and they became more numerous, followed by the Syrians and the Italians. So you can see all the different populations and nationalities that became there. I can imagine it was quite a sight, and quite a bit of different languages being spoken in the area at the time. I'm wondering how they managed to get along and all of that. A large ditch fed by water from springs in the area ran along the park edges in the early days, and the ditch was used for baptisms for the churches and a swimming hole for the children. The park was first called Behrens Park, and it always had a baseball diamond, so the Behrens baseball stadium being there is appropriate because it is carrying on that tradition. The park was rededicated Jordan Park in 1924 and named for Captain Mortimer Jordan, Sr. So a lot of people may remember it as Jordan Park from our era because of the rededication. Captain Mortimer Jordan Sr. was a young physician in Birmingham, and he was one of the first heroes killed in World War I. 500 children took part in the pageant beneath the full moon on that special day on August 4th, 1949, and more than 2,500 people attended the event. The story told about the history of the park, from the time of the Indians through the time when the people from various countries came to settle in the area. I imagine that was a wonderful event to attend. There were folk dances from the Germans, the Greeks, the Danes, the Italians, the Syrians, the Irish, and other nationalities. So I imagine it was quite a long event, too, for the day. Mrs. Sally McCain was queen, and she presided over the pageant with Giga Morgan as king. The princesses were Miss Shirley Mancus, representing Denmark, Miss Patricia Stevens, representing Ireland, Miss Catherine Jones, representing Greece, Miss Teresa Shalacy, representing Italy, Mrs. Gloria Miserani, Syria, and Mrs. Peggy Megason, America. Now, I may have messed up those names because I don't speak all those languages and I'm not very good with it, but I hope I didn't, and please forgive me if I did. Toward the end of the festivities, a tree was dedicated by Mortimer Jordan, Jr. in honor of his father, for whom the park was named. And this was the repetition of a scene 25 years earlier when the park was officially named in his honor. Mrs. Charles J. Sharp, of the Daughters of the American Revolution, who dedicated the first tree, also dedicated the second tree. The park was enlarged, and its ball field and tennis courts were regarded by the Civil Works Administration, or CVA, in 1933-34. So you can see how the park was an essential part of Birmingham's growth and the leisure activities they had there. They cleared away dead wood and trimmed trees and relocated drinking fountains at the time, so they had a real big cleanup effort going on with the CVA, the Civil Works Administration. However, despite their efforts, there was a tree that remained in the ball field, which helped Dickie Martin record an unassisted triple play while playing in the Birmingham Industrial League in 1939. And so I guess the tree's gone now.
Yeah, the tree is definitely gone now. But that's a great story about the history there of the ball field and the parks before that.
It's been a recreation area for a long time in Birmingham. And
it was truly a melting pot, like you mentioned, is all the different countries and all the people coming together. And one thing I think about is how you can see all the different cultures and everything is the food and the culinary scene that's going on in Birmingham. They have a Greek festival still. We have different festivals still. You still see parts of it going on now. Can you imagine, though, all those nationalities? That's a lot of nationalities, but they all came for the steel mill. And you really see that today with the different. I mean, Birmingham's regarded as one of the culinary towns, best culinary towns in the country. Because of that, with the top chefs and everything, and that is basically stemmed from that era pot back then.
Right. We have all kind of food from everywhere and all kind of cultures from everywhere. That you don't think about that really, because we kind of changed over the years and we don't have the languages and everything that I imagine was going on. Can you imagine the schools, though, at the same time in Birmingham during that era, trying to educate everybody and having so many different languages? As a school teacher, I think about that a lot.
And understandably so, is how they got around all that, and everybody shared their knowledge back and forth. And,
exactly.
I think schools were a lot better
and blended
back then,
together
too.
And made a wonderful community. That really worked out well. Made the city of Birmingham.
Yes, and so when you're out at the park, if you get a chance to catch a game out there, you can think about all the history that happened at that location and how the different festivals and events and just in the different countries came together.
Exactly. And you look for those streets, too. Like I said, the park was located at 840 12th Street South at University Boulevard. So look for that, and you'll see where exactly it was located when you go down. Next time you go down to a ball game for UAB.
Or even just down to Birmingham. So just check it all out. But we'll go ahead and let that wrap this one up and get this episode out and share it with you. And just listen, stay tuned, and subscribe to the podcast, share with your friends, send us comments or anything at info@alabamapioneers.com. And we'll see you next time on Alabama Gristmill.
Talk to you later.
Throws away his crutch and hollers, hey, let her go, oh honey.